So I want to talk to you a little bit about this movie with Viola Davis called G20. It's an action movie with Viola Davis starring as a black woman president who gets stuck at a G20 summit in South Africa with terrorists who have an agenda to collapse the economic systems. And she is critical to their plan to basically rob the world of finances and convert it over to crypto. So, okay, let's stick that over here. I decided that I was going to have to make a review of this movie because when I watched it with my daughter, we both enjoyed it. It was a good popcorn flick. And then I noticed at the time that it had very, very low ratings, like a lot of ones and a couple twos. It was like around a 1.82 or something like that rating. And I thought, you know what, this is preposterous. But first, I still wasn't going to, I was going to, click on the little 4 or 5 stars just to bump it up a little bit. But I decided to write a full review for it because of the BSery of some of the other people's movies or reviews, videos and things like that. And I so much don't want to say this because I could probably be doing other things with my time. But I'm doing this because something has to be called out. So I looked at a lot of the people who had their reviews. They were calling it trash and unbelievable and blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. All of these movies are unbelievable. All of these movies are unbelievable. The only difference between these unbelievable movies, this unbelievable movie, and Rambo or Terminator or any one of those old action movies or Die Hard or some of the most recent ones where I call them impossible neighbors, because usually you got an impossible white guy who somehow can just defeat armies of people, which is completely unbelievable. I watched some of those movies. They're unbelievable, but we don't compare the movie to real life because we know what we're watching. Just like we don't compare Star Wars to real life. We're like, oh, well, that's not real life. That lightsaber, there's no way you could cut a person in half with a sword made out of light. There's no such thing as that. We don't say that because we know that it's made up. We know it's unbelievable. We watch it to be entertained. It's like a car and a roller coaster. You don't say, oh, man, this roller coaster is impossible because no one could drive like that. No, it's a vehicle for fun. That's what it's for. We don't compare them to each other because they're not the same thing. But then when Viola Davis is doing it, oh, all of a sudden it's impossible. Oh, she's 60 years old. She couldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. But we won't say that about Clint Eastwood. We don't say that about Sylvester Stallone, who's buff, but he's old. And he still made Rambo movie not that long ago and took out a cartel or whatever the heck he did by himself. Nobody said a thing because these impossible guys want to believe that if they were in the same situation, they would be able to do the things that these impossible white guys do, but they can't because none of us can. And I'll tell you, I used to be in the military and people act like these big old dudes are so tough. I worked with a lot of big old muscle-bound white dudes, and many of them were not the toughest guys. And I even know one whose name I'm not going to say, who I was hanging out with, and we were walking into an area where it was less white people than he was used to. And this dude, who I never talked to on base, all of a sudden wanted to be my best friend. And I was like, yo, because we were out of country. I said, hey, why are you all up on me? And why are you being my best friend all of a sudden? Because it was strange. And then I looked at him, I said, yo, bro, are you scared? Is that why you're all up on me? And then this dude could have picked me up, broke me in half, threw me in the trash. He was huge. But he was scared because he was in a country where people didn't look like him. And we were out in the streets. So all that to say, impossible reviewers who can make these other impossible movies possible in your mind, all of them impossible. But I'll tell you this much. Viola Davis, if you ever saw her train for Woman King, she was killing it. She was putting in the work. And she reminded me of my very possible mom, who I saw stand up to dudes. I watched my mom chase a person with a hammer that she was pretending like a gun because they broke in our house and tried to choke my mom out. And she went after them with a hammer. I watched my mom chase a dude that broke into my aunt's store, telling me some stop in the name of the law. I don't know what she thought she was going to do, but she chased him down. I watched a dude come at my mom, and my mom was like, douche, and stomped this dude. I bet my mom can beat many of your guys' butts, many of you reviewers. When I was in basic training, they were yelling at me and telling me I wasn't jack. I was laughing because they weren't as tough as my mom. So if anybody can do these impossible things, it's probably Viola Davis or some other black lady who's going to actually be able to pull this stuff off. And I know a lot of people know what I'm talking about. People who took stuff for hundreds of years and kept on going, kept creating things, kept doing the impossible time and time again. So if you're going to compare a movie that we all know isn't possible to reality, and then say that this woman can't do it because in reality, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's look at reality then. Let's compare things to reality and see what the heck is really possible. So I made a review that I wrote out that you could check out. I'm going to put it in the comment section. If this is on YouTube, it'll be in the description. You can go to it and check it out because I think it's worth checking out. And plus, Amazon keeps deleting my comments. My review. So if you come across my review that I post here, share it with other people and let's have a conversation because this is ridiculous. And I know it's a movie, but the real reason why I'm making a big deal about this is because of the double standards. Because just like how we're living in the situation we're living right now, because somebody believed that some severe mediocrity could succeed where an intelligent black woman could not, that's a thing. If you can watch this movie, it's the same thing. The same thing. So that's my review. I'm not giving you my review. You can read the review. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you see somebody saying this couldn't happen in real life, but they believe in Rambo and all the different movies, Terminator, whatever, Predator, all these other movies that I also watch, and you can believe all these impossible white dudes and sometimes Denzel Washington and sometimes The Rock, but you can't believe this woman because it's impossible. I mean, look, I'm gonna interrupt myself. Look at Steve Odekirk in Nobody. Steve Odekirk, you believe he can kick all these people's butts, but I'll give you credit, give Steve Odekirk credit. He trained, I saw some of the training videos. I meant Bob Odenkirk. But come on now. Do not keep doing this. This is ignorant and it is devastating our world where your double standards are disgusting. And I'm tired of it, and I'm nobody myself, but I'm enough somebody to tell you that stop doing this. Stop comparing these things the way you're comparing them. Just get with apples to apples, you mediocre merit makers. You're always talking about merit, but there's no merit here, bro. There's no merit here because I personally am allergic to hypocrisy. That's why I'm taking the time to make this video because I'm so allergic to hypocrisy that I just want you to, for once in your life, stop being a hypocrite. Compare apples to apples, all right? Compare work to work, outcome to outcome. Stop tricking yourself. You're not impossible, and you don't need to be comparing these folks. You need to watch the freaking movie, eat your popcorn, compare the movies to the movies, and then, the rest. Peace.